Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boys PD and Cal. Say what's up, gents.
What's going on?
Ready to rock.
Hey, this is what we're reviewing the trailer for The Last of Us.
Wow.
That hit HBO show, right? What's the matter, Selector?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, because I know you're not defying me again, but hey, Selector,
Defying you.
drop the video.
Yo, you need to chill with that, man. I don't know where that's is coming from, but at the same time, he was talking about my energy, and look at his energy over this classic show.
Wow, what can I say? I mean, Last of Us was a huge hit when it came on the last time. Of course, it has Pedro Pascal, aka the Mandalorian. You know,
AKA everybody.
fantastic for Reed Richards. I mean, he's doing everything, so it was definitely a hit. Um, the question that we have here is, Kyle brought up recently, was it a hit? Was it hit enough to continue for a second season? And I guess that's really the series right here. These zombie kind of movies, and we see a whole series of franchises that have been spawned by the what is the one on AMC? What is it called?
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead. So I mean, I watch Walking Dead, and my thing that I have a question about with this is that it seems to be covering a lot of the same materials that they did before. Of course, they're zombies. They have or monsters, or some of them are much more intelligent, much more powerful. But hey, I say give it a shot. Let's see what happens. I can't knock it. Though The Walking Dead has been coming up with some very new shows, fresh takes on different things in different locales. Sorry for the spot there, but just wanted to say that. Give it a shot if you get a
Fresh
chance.
takes.
Huh?
Fresh takes
Fresh takes.
on zombies. Wouldn't this be
I mean,
more on the
what do you
side of
mean? Not fresh takes. It's more like, hey, keeping the money going. That's pretty much what you're doing.
Our resume's in with AMC, so it's fresh takes.
they don't do nothing besides as much as they stopped doing. They were a award-winning channel. And they said these awards for the birds. Let's
That's right.
keep
It
doing
sure
Walking
is.
Dead. Let's just keep doing Walking Dead. Fear the Planet, Fear the Walking Dead, Walking Dead, Walking Dead.
The Last of Us, Walking Dead.
Last of Us, the crossover between Walking Dead and what's name. But this one, I don't know. This story, this series was very hard to connect to for me, and the lead character, it was just kind of a mess. There was some parts where I did stick with it, but now
Kind
I'm
of a mess.
having a hard time remembering what. Sorry, what was that?
You said kind of a mess.
Yeah,
No, that was a mess. That episode when they had the two kids, the brother and the younger and the older brother and younger brother.
Oh man.
That completely took me out of the storyline because I was like, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? What if is there something that the other characters were supposed to learn or we were supposed to get? We already understand that this is a bad situation. I don't understand what was the point of that. And then, well, I already cut you off. I'll wait my turn to get to the other stuff.
no, I'm just saying, for me, it was just a hard thing. It's usual sort of stuff that goes on in these kind of plot lines of, you know, no one, everybody gets out, even if it kills everybody. It's like if humanity isn't worth surviving if one person dies, type of deal. I don't know why.
Battery's the one going out for it. There's the one who's the coolest parts altogether. Sometimes they're more cooler than the monsters themselves.
Yeah, but it's every time you get to, and what I think Mars you were doing, where it says, "Hey, look, here's the brightest day in the apocalypse. We're gonna rev it up all the time." And this sort of push pull way, I kind of stopped reading the clip in The Walking Dead because it'd be like, a lot of great characterization, and the next thing you turn a corner, here's a zombie, like right on time. Have some people fighting, struggling against each other. I think when they went to the library and such and this, that, and the other, and finding our favorite cast of similar characters that we've seen around here in different worlds of human. That's the thing. They've done these sort of things but they always give us like the same sort of dynamics of who the leaders are and this, that, and the other. I think there's one show where there are people on the island, this island, and they're with these rich people, and they have all these workers there, and they're all stuck on the island. And the workers decide, well, you guys with the money, your money is worthless. You guys got no skills, so either you follow us, or you don't eat. And they're like, no, you can't do that. I guess we can. And that dynamic of the people who should be leading are the one who had the most skills, that sort of thing. And I've only seen it a few times. They just give us the stock characters of your leaders, your lead females and your children. And they should really be giving us people that are not just Renaissance people, because that's easy to do, to have like a Tom Hanks in that Castaway, where somehow he has all these skills. Give us somebody who kind of already has the skills that we can see. That's not just a FedEx worker, and slowly over time, have them already have the skills, and basically people have to fall in line with whoever is the one who can provide for them. We rarely see it, but it's a success. What can I say?
But you're right. I'm tired of all the downing. It's like these post-apocalyptic or dystopian view of the societies where everybody's dead, and you have monsters running around. And reality is, I mean, the biggest monster of all of them is man. Man is always fighting with each other, no matter what. I mean, I read a series called it's called The Emberverse by an author named S.N. Sterling, which is pretty interesting in that you know you can't use guns basically in this society. All guns, for some odd reason, some meteor goes by and it just kills the guns and weapons and stuff, and millions of people die. And so now they have to recreate society, and they do it like in a medieval fashion. So now you have Viking, people from England are raiding, or Morocco are raiding, as what they used to do back in the 16th, 17th century. And here in North America, they create like they create like these feudal territories, some based on old, some are like kingdoms, some of them are like baronies, some of them are like 19th century oligarchies. But it's just interesting how the world is done. And you're fascinated to know the world building there. But the big problem is the human beings are constantly fighting one another. Of course, there's a great evil and all these type of sci-fi things, that they try and take over everything. But with this show here, I'm not sure. It's a very popular video game, The Last of Us, and I guess it's just the audience here tends to be a little bit more. They want more than just a standard zombie fare that the Walking Dead provided. They want a much stronger, much smarter um, zombie or monster. I can't remember what they call them again. Walkers, and they want them to be able to do more stuff. And so here we see the contention in this whole fight that we see, that they're trying to survive, because they're always at one point in the very end, they're always surviving together. Everything is happy, everything is good, but then the outside influence of these monsters come. But before then, you have that issue within the group, right? The group is having a problem, so there's a group outside the group is having a problem, and then like the forces of nature, these monsters come. So it's extremely predictable. It's not to knock the show or anything like that. I like last season was pretty gritty. They did introduce certain subject matters that I was not comfortable with at all. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to be watching the second series. I give definitely the first episode a chance, but that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Cal?
Yeah. Like I said, after what I did know, it starts off with very similar premise. Everything that Marge just said about the whole apocalyptic tropes is spot on. I've had enough of it myself, because you have to do something every so often. You got to do something inspirational. You have to do something that people can actually look at and say, "Oh, you know what? We're not just all evil waiting to happen." At the end of the day, that's just not a good look. But they're selling that drama, and who's more dramatic than we've got the market cornered when it comes to being dramatic. Lions will never be as dramatic as people. It just won't happen. So, we got that going on. But aside of the instance that I already raised, The ending for me was just, I was very conflicted by the ending. I don't know if that's what they wanted, but the whole idea was to get the girl here, and then based on her, we were going to be able to, create some sort of cure. And then what they concocted was that the only way that they could get the cure was they were going to have to kill her, okay, if not flat out murder her, okay, in order to get the cure. And so then he's like, well, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to make certain that she's saved because she doesn't deserve that. But then, like, so what's supposed to happen? It's either one or two choices, and both of them are evil. Either this guy's going to be selfish because of his connection to the girl, okay, because that's the only reason why he's doing it, or you know, we allow the young girl to get murdered. I just said this is a terrible place for it to end. I was like, there's no alternative, or I guess maybe in season two, oh, they'll dangle some carrot in front of us that, of course, will be a mirage. Oh, maybe we can do this, but then that totally undercuts what we're talking about at the end of season one, where it was like it seemed like this was the only way they could happen. Where we were gonna have to put this girl to death. No, I'm not gonna let that happen. But then you still got this thing happening all over the place. Okay, you got people dying, you got the world in complete disarray, and the only chance that you have to set the world to rights is with this young girl right here. So what's supposed to happen? The two of them just pal around because that's what he wants? It was just really out there for me. I don't and because it's based on a video game, they get a lot of leeway in terms of story. Because like video games stuff like Street Fighter or Sun Wukong, they can pretty much make up any story as long as they keep those particular elements of the game going. But in this story, the way it ended, I was just like, I don't know if I'll come back for this. I'm surprised they're actually doing a second season because what has it been now? Was it 3 years since the end of that first one or two?
I think it's two. I don't think it's
Yes.
that big of a jump.
Yeah, I'm just surprised because Pedro Pascal has been pretty busy, so I'm surprised that they're able to bring both of them back. Okay, both good,
It's a
both good
huge
in what
hit.
they're
It
doing.
was a huge hit.
Hey, again, not everything that's a huge hit has a second season worth of story. We've been shown this historically. It comes out the box, everybody loves it, does really good gangbusters numbers, and then people don't come back for the second season, or they don't come back for part two, or they don't come back for the sequel.
No,
So
they'll be coming back for this one, regretfully.
yeah, so wait, we'll see, and I say that I say that not mockingly, okay, but I will definitely take a wager on this one because I want to see which one wins out: the interest in the show, or the historical evidence that most of the time people have enough with the first one. I don't know if the first one left anything on the table that people want to come back for a second serving. But but again, we'll see. I've been wrong before.
I agree with you. I thought that was it. I didn't know how much more they can push it. But remember, this got like 40 million views the first time, and I think it said 30 million views every week afterwards. So, as far as Time Warner, I mean Warner Brothers or Warner Discovery, whatever they call themselves now, they are going to milk this, like Petey said, till the wheels drop off. Like how Pedro Pascal is able to do all of this, I guess that's why the Mandalorian has a helmet on, right? He can have his double in there whenever he needs him, right?
What you saying? He's a Doombot?
I'm saying there is. All you need to do is the voice. Someone else can walk around.
Well, I just think as far as say the three of us, we could all do our own version of the zombie or that's apocalypse stories, just like a western or pop drama, rom com. Thing is, are we getting a different set of characters or different set of focus of saying, hey, like, because I didn't even remember that was, the ending of the girl, the purpose of bringing the girl and him deciding, F that, I'm not going to allow this to happen. And the society has to, but there's a kid, I guess, on the other side, so it gives us an answer. But how many people have to die before they end the series and find out, all we have to do is take her blood. We don't have to take the marrow out. We can just take the blood and we can replicate it that way. So it's one of those things where you have this thing where, but I just don't want to see the stock sort of things where you're in a place, you're in the apocalypse, because I've seen it done where you can do different characters and have characters that are selfless, that say, hey, at this portion, I'm not making it. I'm closing the door on myself. you guys go along and people say, no, we got to, no, I know that that's going to, I'm bringing you guys down. I need to go, that sort of thing. So, and then,
Oh, like that movie. What was that movie with Liam Neeson when they're being tracked by wolves? Was it like the gray something? I can't remember. But yeah, after a certain point, like almost all of them, like there were characters saying, "Look, I'm just gonna drag you down. Just leave me here. Just leave me here and leave me a little whiskey." And that was pretty much
yeah.
it.
So you have to have characters at least have bring some. Not to say I'm all for. I mean, I'm not all for it because I don't watch it, but I understand that you're going to mass produce anything that's successful. It's just that let's not have. I don't want to see a variation of Rick in The Last of Us because I wasn't a fan of Rick in the first place because he's a character I know, right? That's the thing. You don't, whereas like, you look at, say, the X-Men, and you have like Cyclops, who's a stoic, like kind of to the point type of character, but that all comes from the fact that he's, got this power that's on all the time. So he's like, he's this way because of what he's dealing with, and at the same time, the interaction with the X-Men isn't with the new X-Men. It was a lot of complaining. With the old X-Men, it was kind of like it's just Cyclops. They didn't have a problem with it. So running into you can have these characters with different sets of characters or different sets of dynamic, but they keep falling into the last minute of things where we're not having as much fun, or that's a fun meaning like I'm worried about the characters. I know these guys. I knew he wasn't going to let it happen, and that sort of thing. So, this can do some. I guess you can't. They're already rolling, so we're gonna drum out. That's the thing. People throw out cliches or tropes and all this stuff and say, "Oh, look at all of them doing the same thing." It's like, but when you like those things, you like the cliches, you'll have people do it for you over and over again. So people like saying they dislike the stuff, but the same not this crew, present crew excluded. But at the same time, then they'll be like, well, I'm okay when Tarantino does this. He takes fiction and turns or takes reality and turns it into fiction. So, all right, we should close it out before someone goes to sleep on this, as he did on the series.
No,
He
sorry.
fell totally asleep
The-
on the series, and I'm not
no,
having him go every time I say something. He decides he's gonna go to sleep.
no. I agree. I just wanted to just the one thing I definitely want to talk about how brutal this series was. Did you guys? I don't know. For me, it felt really brutal, especially that last part when the whole premise of it was the blood, and like Tatek said, excuse me, like T Money said, was that you know they get him to the place, right? They get her to get the blood, right? They're supposed to get the blood, and yet he decides that they have to go further, and he ends up killing them. To me, it's like, what were we watching this whole show for, right? If she has the cure, and they have to go into her and get the cure, and he's like, you can't give him the cure. You get what I'm saying? So for me, it was a disappointment on that end. So I don't know. It's just it's I guess the show is trying to make you feel like, hey, you know, he loves her. This is his new daughter, so he has to do something. He can't let her die to get a cure. But I'm saying it's the whole humanity. The whole humanity is dying, and they need this cure. I don't know. Well, I don't know how you square that, right? But killing the doctor is definitely not the way to square it out, right, Cal?
Killing the doctor, the nurse, destroying the hospital. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say yeah. Yeah, I would say no.
and so to me that was, I hate watching a series and you get invested in it, and like I was having problems with some elements of the series, and it was just a downer ending for me. You know, yes, he finds his brother. Yes, they find the town, the fireflies, and all that. But it's like all the people had to die for her to live. And probably that's the PTSD he's feeling because his own daughter died, right? I don't know. So that's my problem. That's my whole issue with the show.
The
And
series should start the first episode. I hate you, Dad, and runs out like a real daughter. Like you don't see
Well,
him back together for the last episode 8.
you know how
it's
many
just
people I
very
kill for you?
yeah, but it's extremely selfish and I just don't see how you justify it based on what we're getting from this series. You know, I so that is the bigger thing for me. Your premise is that the entire hope of this world rests on the fact that this girl is immune, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My personal connection to her is going to supersede all of that, and then that's no good. But then the other half is no good either. Like, okay, well, we're gonna. I guess that, we don't have time, or we're gonna just have to expedite this. So the only way we're gonna be able to do it is that we have to kill her. Like, I would think, okay, you guys have some time. You're in a secure location. You don't have these things aren't like banging at the door trying to get in. There's nothing else that you can do other than that. So life has become that cheap on both sides. That's a very hard one to swallow.
Yeah.
Because, rather than kill her, it's like, I would say, look, you want to kill her? Like, no, let's just kill all these things that are infected. Do that at the end of the day. We're doing that already, right?
You agree, Petey?
Um, I mean, pretty much. I don't have any issue with either of you guys. I mean, it's not a agree or disagree type of thing. It's just more like I just would hope you give us some different, not every character that kind of like overly protective and not wanting them in there are bad guys. There's good reason to kick them out. There are more mouths to feed. They go into these things. It's like going into the woods, like the thing you're talking about with Liam Neeson, all these movies where they go into the woods or they're in this land where it's like you're now lower on the food chain, but somehow you need to survive, even though you're the lowest thing on. You're not the lowest, but you're some prime rib on the food chain. So you should be, or you're taking away from other mouths. Like these people that are mean and like get out of here, this, that, and the other thing. No, we gotta add more people and more mouths to feed. No. Until it stabilizes, then you guys can come back. But as of now, this is you don't want no more people in here. So that's the thing. When you have these things, the moral dilemma, there is no moral dilemma at the same time. The moral dilemma is, will they be able to save the people? Will mouths be able to get fed? Those are the two things for every day. And you saying my relationship with my new daughter is more important than anything because it shows the world that, hey, no matter what, even though in truth, when the daughter crashes the car, brings an a-hole boyfriend in there to try to beat you up, there's some things that are going to make the father be like, I'm going to disown you. So you can't always say that no matter what happens, the father's going to be like, yes, this relationship is more important than anything ever. Life and death, the whole town being blown up, as long as I have my daughter. That sort of Hollywood type thing is really beyond.
Yeah, it's just a remarkably selfish premise. And you didn't do anything in the show where I don't agree with that at all, but at the very least I can understand. It's like, no, I don't agree with it, and you didn't do anything to help me understand it either. Okay, because he could have easily said, you know what, I've really gone attached to this girl, but once again, I'm going to have to suffer through this, and that would have been the end of the series. That would have effectively been the end of the series, and that might have not been the ending that people wanted. Okay, but at least that would have tied into what he had experienced before. If the whole idea is like, no, I'm not going through this again, I'm not losing another daughter. Okay, fine, but the stakes that these guys, we've seen the stakes at this point, and so much loss of life in order, just to live, and also in order for her to get this far. And I'm not saying, well, since she's there, we got to kill her. But what you're serving up at the end of the day, for me to consume, it's just lacking in terms of rationale. Where I mean, yeah, like you said, it's the Hollywood thing where you can just say, well, you know what, I'll do whatever I got to do, to protect my family. But that's a movie. That's a movie. And the once you decide to ground this which is what they love to do because then they don't have to pay for more special effects. But once you decide to ground this as much as they've done, like your decision making needs a lot of work on both sides. Okay, it needs a lot of work.
Yeah, and we're gonna get another season of that. So maybe these guys were right. Maybe they should have just done one. But something this successful, like what else are you gonna do? And it takes, for some reason, post The Sopranos, doesn't take you, um, the rest of the year to do 8 episodes or 10 episodes. It takes you 2 years to do Mad Men. There are no special effects besides costume design. Nope. The elevator ride up with the person sitting down there operating the elevator, that costs a lot of money for Mad Men. So it's going to take us 2 to 3 years to do another season.
How come they couldn't lock him down?
Who?
I mean, I don't know. It's like they have to lock him down for these seasons now, but I'm saying this series is supposed to take like the episode. I think the episode with that from what I've read about the video game, it's supposed to take like a couple year jump, right? After what happened last verse. And so you're gonna have other of course, like I said, other factions fighting it out. But I don't know. I'm still stuck at the ending. That's what it is. So look, I don't want to belabor this anymore. So hey, if you like what you hear, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, Spinnerack
Out.